Welcome back, nerds. We're the 12-sided guys. We have Matt as Alec Guinness Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Hi.
Scott as Han Solo, but without a shirt under that vest.
I know.
Jordan as C-3PO with a flamethrower.
Goodness gracious me.
Sabrina as Chewbacca with a sweet fade and capable of human speech.
I've never watched it. I'm sorry.
And me, Paul, as the Sith Lord Darth Jar Jar. Thanks for coming along with us on our adventures. If you want more 12-sided guys, like being able to see the dungeons, cities, and star bases our players are visiting, don't worry. No Bothans have to die to get you that information. Just become a patron. At different tiers, you get access to maps, battle maps, the wiki, which I have been laboriously updating, bonus episodes, character sheets, and Death Star plans coming soon. And don't forget to tell everyone you know about us. Tell your friends, your family, your friends that are secretly already family, you know, like a twin sister that you passionately kissed one time before you knew she was your sister. Tell everyone. And ratings and reviews are always nice. Also, FanX is just a couple months away, September 22nd to the 24th, 2022, so make plans to come out and meet us. You won't be disappointed. It'll be more like the episode 1 premiere and less like episode 8. And, of course, we want to shout out one of our newest patrons, Derek. Derek, as a new patron, we have a little gift for you. It's not like the best gift, like getting a Rancor with its own exclusive Danny Trejo, but still pretty good.
Ino Wanawanga.
I mean, it's kind of like that. It's pretty good.
I'm going to be honest. I think that the gift is better than that series.
Ouch.
If you're asking yourself, why the Star Wars theme today? It's because I was bored. Anyway, if you ever blasted the speeder bikes out from under rampaging Jawas just to hear them shout, woo-tee-dee, as they launched into the air, then this podcast is for you. It's the Crystal Codex, episode 72.
I loved that game.
Which game was that?
Super Star Wars on the SNES.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the first level you're in Tatooine, you got a blaster, you're shooting like scorpions and gremlin frogs and giant dragonflies. And then the second level, you are in the speeder and you are literally shooting Jawas.
Yeah.
As God intended.
And literally when their bikes explode underneath them, they go shooting straight up in the air and they go, woo-dee-dee! Over and over again.
Am I the only one who thought that like Jawas were just Ewoks with like male pattern baldness that they were ashamed of, so they covered up?
How do we know that the normal Ewoks also didn't have male pattern baldness underneath their little hoods?
Am I supposed to be walking around with a hood because I'm going bald?
For shame.
I'm not going to lie. I do wear hats a lot more than I did a year ago. All right. Well, welcome back to Pavantis. Last time we left our players, they were on an airship leaving Arkelvy and heading south towards Marlek. We had, I guess it was kind of a rough time last time. We had the end of a confrontation between the party and some thugs who were trying to get away with their giant crystal, as well as some Arkolvian soldiers who had magical rifles and 2 bishops. Those 2 bishops did end up getting awakened by Ebby, our resident Ormek. And just as that fight ended with our party recovering the crystal and one of the Arkolvian soldiers dying and the other one getting away, our party, along with these 2 bishops, took to the streets to try to get away from this mess on Baker Way, where buildings were now on fire from all of the fireballs and lightning bolts being shot from these magical guns. And our party split up in an attempt to get away cleanly. Everybody managed to get back to a rendezvous, except for Ebby, who was accompanied by one of these bishops. Due to some really bad rolls and then one really good roll from one of the Arcolvian soldiers. The surviving bishop with Ebby pushed Ebby aside and sacrificed himself to allow Ebby to get away. Hearts were heavy there at the end, but our party did manage to find a secret way out of the city, get back aboard the Allele Eagle, and take off on their trip south to the city of Marlek, where a temple to Laramie exists, and hopefully a way to release Rousse from the curse of these two swords. And that's where we're at right now. So aboard the Allele Eagle, flying south, out now over the Sapphire Sea, you guys can see that there are small islands here and there that you would know 5 years ago didn't actually used to be there. This was all solid ground underneath you, but after the shattering, when the continent cracked and split and in places sunk deep down below sea level, the Sapphire Sea doubled or tripled in size, swallowing up cities including Merida and Graham and Kedibir. Those are just the ones in the old Arcolvi province that no longer exist because of the swelling of the Sapphire Sea. But you know that there are parts of the old Almerian province, the city-states of Racolia, that were also swallowed up. There are new islands dotting the sea, and now as you head south away from Tabery and Arcolvi, it's easier to see some of this devastation that your actions 5 years ago created. So aboard the Allele Eagle, Nari and the boys, you have 9 Ormex and yourselves, and 3 days until you get to Marlek.
We have 10 Ormex.
Daffodil comes up from below. She's like, "Don't forget about me."
Actually, Pine is going to take Daffodil aside as we get onto the airship and say, "Daffodil, I know these others can take care of themselves. I got you a gift." And I'm going to take that rifle that I took off of one of the soldiers in Tabery or in Arcolvi, and I'm going to give it to Daffodil, and I'll say, "Practice with this. Point, click, kill. Learn to protect yourself. We'll train together."
She looks shocked. The rifle is big. I mean, it's a long rifle. Think like musket from French and Indian War.
Daniel Day-Lewis, Last of the Mohicans. I get it.
Yeah. Think like that. Like these rifles are like 4 feet long, and this rifle is just exquisite. It has like dark black wood. It has golden filigree on it. Every piece of this rifle you can tell was lovingly and very carefully crafted. This is not black powder. This is some other kind of technology. The shots are contained in a single cartridge, and this rifle does hinge at the barrel like a shotgun, and you can put the cartridge in and close it and pull the trigger, and it will make a loud bang. You have a bag of ammunition that you got off of this dead Arcolvian soldier, as well as one single yellow crystal that fits right in the rifle. And you hand it to Daffodil. She seems nervous to take it from you. Why don't you go ahead and make a charisma check? Think of it more like diplomacy, or like, hey, I've like a comforting presence, and see how you do.
Okay. So I have a +8, but I only rolled a 2, so that's a 10.
Here, take this gun.
She seems very, very hesitant, and she kind of holds it in her hands and looks very awkward, and then she kind of starts to hand it back to you, and she says, "That's not for me. I can't do it. I appreciate you looking out for me, but thank you, but no." And then
Ebby's actually going to walk up at that point and kind of over Pine's shoulder, look to Daffodil and say, "No, seriously, you should consider holding on to this," to try to give Pine the chance to have some help action on that.
Yeah. Why don't you roll that one more time to get the advantage?
Okay, so that's a 19 now. And Pine will say, "This isn't just for protecting yourself. Everyone on this ship needs to be able to defend this ship, including you. This is a weapon, an elegant weapon, that I think is well suited to your abilities now."
She straightens her shoulders, nods her head once, and says, "Okay, I'll do it." And then she
Proceeds to shoot all of us on accident.
she immediately puts her finger on the trigger, and you're like, no, trigger discipline. She's like, oh, what did I do?
We'll practice with it. We're not just going to throw you into a fight or anything. We, while we're up in the air, we'll throw like clay pigeons and shoot at them and stuff.
Okay, sure. Clay pigeons, we just happen to have a whole box of them. All right. So now Daffodil has this beautiful, elegant rifle that she is it's got a strap on it. She kind of now walks around with it strapped to her back. You also notice that all of the Ormex aboard this ship, they have all now scrubbed themselves clean except for Daffodil. Daffodil is still, I believe she is yellow with little white flowers, little blossoms all over her.
She's like Janice from the Muppets. Like, hey, man, like, we're on this airship, man. I just want to draw maps, okay?
She doesn't want anything to do with your guns and your war.
She just wants to explore.
Well, I mean, honestly, I knew that the gun would probably stand out in the hands of an Ormec, especially if they're trying to go incognito. So I figured we'd keep it on the ship and might as well, arm Daffodil with something that in real life is probably easier to use for a common person than trying to train her in like swordsmanship or something.
Yeah, perfect. No, I totally get it.
So, Paul, Marlek, we've never been to Marlek.
Rousse has been to Marlek.
And our listeners have been to Marlek, correct?
Have they been to Marlek?
Wait, when?
Isn't that the end of where didn't JV episode end there?
You sure did.
Oh.
Yes, Marlek. In our session 0, this is actually where a big chunk of Scott's session 0 for Rousse took place, was in the city of Marlek. So Scott has some information already. Rousse knows the city very well. But yes, Marlek is the same city where Artis and Ember and Bert and Hop, where they all
learned the lyrics to George Michael's songs.
I was going to say, they took George Michael to go to his daughter's graduation.
Jitterbug.
And they promptly got their treasures, the key that they were looking for. Yes, that was the city of Marlek. And that is actually right where you guys are headed right now. As you approach Marlek, I can describe it to you. Is there anything else anybody wants to do before we arrive in Marlek?
Rousse will bring up to the party. There is a skyport in Marlek. The city's not affiliated with Rocolia or Almar. I'm fairly certain that we should be able to park it in the city without any problems.
Do we need a parallel park, or are we good?
I don't know. Daffodil, how are you on piloting the thing?
Man, we're putting a lot of skills on your shoulders.
She turns around and sweeps you all with the rifle. What'd you say?
Pine will say, "Do we know the current political situation in Marlek, or it's Dathan, right? Is the country's Dathan?"
It is Dathan, but I'm not certain of the political situation.
Why don't you guys all make history checks, and then that'll kind of give us an idea of what you guys know going into this.
All right, Pine rolled a 12 on his history check.
Nari rolled a 7.
Rousse got an 18.
Ebby rolled an 18, which is weird because he does not have great history knowledge.
You guys are twinning, Rousse and Abby.
Ooh.
Yeah, Abby, you got like a -1. That means you rolled a 19. Good job. So we have 2 18s. You guys are definitely going to have the most information. So as far as the country of Dathan, Dathan is called the Principality of Dathan. It is the former Lyran province, which was this kind of long peninsula that jutted out between the Almerian Sea and the Lyran Sea. The capital of Dathan is the city of Lyran. But Marlek is this kind of northernmost city on the Principality, or in the Principality of Dathan, which is now, instead of it being a peninsula, it has now broken up into this archipelago of islands. You would know that over the last few years, as Dathan kind of became united as a nation again, it was a bloody affair where the quote unquote crown prince, the person who crowned himself as the prince, actually ended up having all of his rivals for the throne assassinated. And so there is a crown prince, and there is, very little opposition to him because all of the opposition was killed. So Dathan is, and It has a little bit of a very recent history, of a very bloody recent history. The city of Marlek itself is kind of a little bit of a resort town, kind of. It's got a beach there that's very popular. Tourists will come down here for the weather because it's very nice most of the time. It's warm most of the year. The sea here is warm as well. There is also this fortress. So it's right on the coast, and there's this small island off the coast. And there's this fortress called the Bastion. And Rousse has some intimate knowledge of the Bastion of Marlek. That's what you guys kind of know going into this. There was a bloody fight for succession of the throne, and now there is a crown prince. Rousse had a question about Marlek and about parking the airship at the skyport or doing what you guys have done in other places. So I guess that conversation still needs to happen.
I've never officially parked an airship anywhere. What are we looking at for port fees, taxes, all those things? Do we need to have a manifest? Do we need to have any of that official documentation to be safe parking this here?
I've never been part of the upper crust, so I've never traveled in an airship that I owned before. So I'm not familiar with that. But I'm sure when we get there, they'll let us know. The beaches are incredible. I mean, I know we're going to try and be quick, but you got to at least see it.
Rousse, you would also know, just kind of with your background, that even if you do need manifest, there's a very real possibility you could grease some palms and everything would be just fine.
I'm sure I could talk to somebody to get us through whatever sort of customs that they have at the gate.
Okay.
I'm envisioning an airport and, TSA, all that.
Is this canon past 9/11?
Oh, Sabrina, you just hit it right on the head. This is actually future Earth.
Oh. You guys, now I have to rewrite episode 99. Okay. As you guys approach the city of Marlek, this is now 3 days later. The wind is still blowing up here because you're up high, but you have noticed that it is getting warmer and warmer as you travel further and further south. Marlek, you see, is kind of you see it from a distance first, and you see this city that is built on a cliff that overlooks the Lyran Sea. And off of the east coast of this cliff, you can see there's a smaller island, or this little small island that's off the coast, and it's connected to the mainland. When I say mainland, it's just the much larger island that Marlek is on. You can see that there is this beautiful bridge span that crosses over the strait or whatever it is that separates the two cliffs. You see that this smaller island is dominated by this massive fortress that Rousse knows all too well.
Did you almost say mattress?
I did say mattress.
This mattress fort.
I was thinking of Community and the pillow forts.
Even better.
As you look down over the city of Marlek, you can see the streets are very orderly. You can see, from a distance, you see the tiniest speck of people moving around through the city. You can see that up on the western side of the city, the buildings are larger. They're more spacious. They have bigger yards. You can see that there are, on that western side, there are two churches. One of them is pretty big. It's bigger than any of the churches that you guys have seen before. It's bigger than anything in Arkelvy. It has this large, for lack of a better, I'll just explain to you what it is. There's a telescope. So if you look at a cathedral and how it has it's like a T-shaped kind of thing, and in the center where the T crosses, this has a dome, and coming out of the dome, you can see the end of this massive telescope. And this is the Temple of the Stars. It's dedicated to the Lord and Lady of the sky, the night sky. The other temple that you can see up there on the west side is smaller. That's really all you can tell from this distance. On the north side of the city, you can see that outside of the city wall, there is a small cluster of buildings that, Rousse, you would know, that leads down to the beach. That leads down to Spirit Beach. And that is where a lot of the people from out of town like to stay because it's very close to the beach. The streets, they kind of make way from dirt or cobblestone to sand. And it looks very peaceful and beautiful. On the south side of the city, is a different story. Again, you see these houses and things that are built outside the city walls, but they are kind of built every which way. Houses of all shapes and sizes that are stacked and sharing walls, and just there's no real rhyme or reason to where these buildings have been placed. And Rousse, at least, would know that this part of the city outside of the city walls is called the Jumble.
I'm on Legend Keeper and I'm looking at Spirit Beach. Is that a teeny little baby next to that like sandcastle water area?
A teeny little baby?
Now I got to check this out. Hey, patrons, go check out Spirit Beach in Marlek on Legend Keeper. The
And
wiki.
if you are currently not a patron, consider joining our Patreon. What is that? It's terrifying.
Oh my goodness.
It's a creepy doll. It's a creepy doll.
It looks like the Ally McBeal baby.
Oh my God. So if you are a patron, go to the actual icon and then go and look. Okay, so here's the deal, you guys. Come on, guys. I was trying to give the feel of like this kind of resort type beach. So there's tents there.
Demonic babies.
There is a shovel and a bucket and a hole where kids have been digging and playing. And then one of them left their toy out, and it's this doll.
I don't think that's a kid's toy.
If you look at the preview image, you get a better view, like a face-on view. You can see it's just a little doll sitting there. Welcome to Marlek. Oh my gosh, you guys. Welcome to Marlek, a nice place to sit and relax in the sun, in the sand, in the water, and hopefully relieve yourself of a couple of cursed swords. The skyport is kind of in the towards the south, kind of in the southwest section of the city. You can see by the southern gate there is this big, like, basically, for lack of a better term, this big Arc de Triomphe. There's this big, elaborate arch with statuary, on it, depicting some kind of historical events in either the Empire or in the history of this area before the Empire. And there's this square. It's called Celeste's Square. At least that's what it was called back in the days of the Empire. And just to the north of that square, you can see this large tower sticking high up into the air. It's in this part of the city. It's definitely the tallest part, and you can see that coming off of this tower, there are 4 large, basically docks, these piers that stick out over the city. And you can see that one of them is currently occupied by an airship. And it looks like basically you pull up to the dock and then you lash on just like you would a ship. You throw the ropes and hook onto the things. What are those called? The cleats, or the big metal things that you tie a ship off to when you come to port. So that is where the skyport is. So is that where you guys are going?
I guess so, yes.
Yeah, why not?
Listen, everybody, specifically talking to the Ormex on board. In order to keep you incognito, I think we may have to talk a little down to you while you're on the ship. Because we'll probably be boarded. They're probably going to do some kind of inspection. To not rouse suspicion, it may be best that we play a terrible part here.
Jessamine, who you guys have had some experience with before, she's one of the liberators of one of these groups. She nods. She says, "Yes, we expected this. This is why we cleaned ourselves up and got rid of our markings. We're ready for this, to play the part."
Ebby will turn to Pine and say, "It won't be a problem."
Okay, all right.
The Allele Eagle sails up and slows down just as it approaches one of these piers that sticks out over the city of Marlek. As you approach, you can see that there are actually workers on this pier waiting for you guys to get closer, and they start tossing lines back and forth, and they actually start doing a lot of the work to get you tied right up to the edge of this pier. After that work is done, I guess, are you guys all up on the deck, or what are you guys doing as they're tying off the ship?
Yeah, Rousse will be on the deck waiting for, whoever, if they're trying to board, to chat with them.
Yeah, I think Nari would kind of just be up there, keeping an eye out for anything suspicious.
Ebby will have his kind of magical disguise in place, and he'll also be on the deck.
Pine will be on the deck as well, yeah.
So you all four are up on the deck, and as these workers are like tying things off, they're like wearing like not vests like what what Rousse wears, but they're like wearing sleeveless jerkins, and rough pants, and you can tell that like their hands are calloused. They got big muscles from running lines all day. They get the ship all tied off, and just as they're finishing up, you can see this man step in the center of the tower. You can see there are staircases going up and down. And there's also these strange contraptions right in the center of the tower that you guys would know are these lifts, these elevators that are used to get the goods off of the airships and to drop them down to the street level to get them to the people who live in the city. This man comes walking from one of these lifts. He is dressed in this. Pine has that blue frock coat. This is like a light blue or a sky blue, and it has like a lot of like embroidery and gold on it, and it even has like a little badge of office, like a little ribbon with a golden teardrop looking thing at the top. And he comes up. Walks up to the ship and calls out and he says, "Permission to come aboard."
Permission granted.
He steps up. One of the workers actually holds out his hand and helps him kind of step up onto the dock. And as he walks in, and he walks up to Ebby, because Ebby is the one who spoke. And he says, "I am Custom Master Silvio, and I am here to inspect your documentation."
Documentation. Is that like shipping manifests or what in particular? We just came to stop by one of the temples here as we're en route.
Are you delivering goods? Are you planning on selling anything in the city?
No, we don't have any intention of selling any wares.
We're a private vessel, not a merchant vessel.
Well, I'm sure you have something that shows who you are then, correct? Some kind of documentation? We can't just let anyone park here. I mean, who knows? This ship might not really be yours, right?
Yes, well, I mean, clearly it's ours, as we are the ones operating it and flying it. Is there like a general continental registry out there that we should have been informed to contact? This seems highly unusual. I, Sir Mortimer, would be very displeased if I had to go back to my sovereign and tell them that I was deposed here under false pretenses.
Make a deception check.
Also, yeah, I love the blusteriness of Ebby right there.
Yeah, and where is Rousse with this greasing palms thing that he was talking about?
I was ready to grease some palms, but this is entertaining.
I think Rousse would know, kind of, just because I think that you've done most of the travel by airship, that, it's not that there's like an international registry, but there's some kind of documentation that most people will have when you own a ship, and that's to keep people who are like pirates and things from coming to your city, right? It's to keep that kind of stuff from happening, to keep the robbery and the stealing of airships and things to a minimum.
And does this guy look to be like official?
Oh, super official. Like the jacket is like the gold thread in it is almost blinding with the sunlight bouncing off of it. That's how official he is.
Like we couldn't just hand him a piece of paper and be like, "This is our writ," and he'd be like, "Yes, quite, can't read."
The kind of cat that just loves paperwork. Like, oh yeah. You even got it signed? Ooh.
The bureaucat.
I'm imagining a cat in a little suit with a tie
and a monocle.
Oh my god, I love him.
Purrs loudly when you provide him something that's already been collated.
Okay, so what was your deception check? Yes.
So Ebby rolled a 15 on deception.
I was going to ask, because we came from Tabery and we're kind of like not on official Tabery business. Would we have thought in advance to get any kind of writ from Kira?
Oh, that's okay. Well, let's just make a luck roll, okay?
Because your players know nothing about shipping and this kind of travel, so
let's just make a luck roll.
We did not study up on that.
Right. Okay.
I'm going to double down on the whole bluffing thing, though.
Well, and to be fair, you guys have spent so much time in the Empire and moving around in the Empire. The Empire didn't have rules like this because it was all one nation. From province to province, you didn't have to do this anyway. Okay.
So you're saying life was a little bit better under the Empire? Is that it?
The trains were on time.
I'm not saying that. There might be people in the world who say that.
Some have said that. I'm not saying it.
Here comes a D20 for the luck.
D20 for the luck. Odds is yes. Evens is no.
Oh no!
Oh my God, Scott!
No, hey, no. I just said odds is yes, you did. Evens is no, you did not.
Okay, so a natural one is actually good.
Yay!
Oh, man.
In this case, yes.
We did it, guys.
That's the best natural one I've ever rolled.
I imagine Evie is getting all blustery. Like, what? How dare you? As Rousse just kind of pulls out this paper that's signed by Kira and has like an official seal on it and everything.
Silvio, look, my friend here gets a little bit blustery, but here's the paperwork. Since we're not planning on doing any sort of selling or purchasing while we're here, we'll just be here for a day or so. What is the docking fee? And I think that's all that we need you for right now.
While you're saying that, Rousse, Ebby is all like, "Me get blustery. The great Bortimer has never been subject to such ridiculous bureaucracy ever before. I cannot believe that they would detain me as..." And he just kind of wanders off, yelling loudly to himself.
You know what's funny is he's not even the captain.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. He takes the paperwork, he starts looking through it, and he's he heard your question, but he's kind of looking over, making sure everything is all official, and then he hands it back. He says, "Oh yes, country of Tabri, everything seems to be in order. Docking fees are 20 gold per day."
Do we pay that up front, or what do you expect from us right now?
Well, to dock now is 20 gold.
Okay.
And you will be impounded this time tomorrow if we don't get 20 more gold. So if you're going to be here for a couple days, it's probably better to just pay now.
Are you going to put a boot on us?
He's going to pop the bubble.
Oh no!
They can disconnect the wheel from the rudder. They can put clamps on things to keep us from being able to turn. It's like a boot.
It's fine. We will pay the 20 gold and we'll be on our way. I don't expect us to need to stay 2 days, but if it comes to that, we would be happy to pay an additional 20.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure doing business with you. Enjoy the city of Marlek.
Has it, though? Has it been a pleasure?
He's walking away, just like rubbing the gold between his fingers. I want everyone to make a perception check.
This is just a dock worker with a fancy coat, isn't it? I got a 7.
Nari got a 14.
Ebby rolled a 10.
Rousse got a 12. That was a nat 1.
Oh, no.
Second nat 1 in a row.
But the last nat 1 was like a good nat 1, so it kind of evens out.
Didn't you have 3 nat 20s in a row a couple sessions ago?
I did, yeah.
It's Lady Jaffa balancing it out. Oh my goodness.
Ooh, I love
She
it.
does do that, yes.
See, Rousse, she is here. She is with you.
And she's the worst. And she's royally screwing up your rolls.
You all step down off the Allele Eagle. You are in this tower. There are staircases going down. There are some lifts that will take you down as well. And I imagine, unless you guys want to say anything more to the Ormex, they kind of know what they're going to do. They're going to just stay on the ship and stay out of sight, but make sure that nobody goes through the ship while you guys are gone. That's kind of what they had planned to do.
While we're going down the lift, Ebby is like, "Did you see that? I was putting on quite the performance. I don't want to brag, but I think even Tedward would have been impressed by that."
I'm sure you could find a career in acting after all this is over.
Do you think so? I mean, I've never imagined myself a thespian, but I could give it a shot, right?
Yeah, I think since you can't do facial expressions, I think you'd have to overcompensate with your arms. Kind of like when you were shouting back there, you're kind of flailing your arms all over the place. Just more of that. I think that'd be great.
Yes.
We need more art.
Like a Muppet.
Yes, like a Muppet.
All right. Well, as you guys go down the lift, the thing that you guys all missed, and you guys do not know this, but you missed that Silvio took 10 of those gold and put them in his own pocket.
The bureaucat.
Oh, curse him.
But you guys, he's quite the bureaucat. The lift comes down to the street level. And as you guys step out of the lift and out of the tower, you step out into a bright, sunshiny, late morning. And the sun is shining. There's a few wispy clouds in the sky. You see people moving to and fro. From where you're standing, if you were to go basically directly to the west, you would be on a street called Diamond Lane. And that is where the posh shops are. At the end of Diamond Lane, at the edge of the city, up over on this cliff overlooking a forest, is the Temple of the Stars, where the graduation happened a couple episodes ago with the JV team. As you are standing here at the skyport, directly south of you, you see a temple. And this temple, Rousse, having been here before, that is the temple of Lord Laramie.
Do you guys want to find accommodation somewhere and I can try and get things settled?
Do you want some support, some backup?
I'd welcome the company, but I won't require anyone to come with me.
I'd prefer to be there with you.
I would love to come with you, my friend.
Honestly, and not just to support you, but I've never been in a city where there was worship to the Lord of Swords, and I think it might be fitting for me to go see how the Lord of Swords is worshipped, being as my history with swords.
Seems like there should be more Lords of Axes, but
oh my gosh. You go around. So right now you're standing at the back of the temple. The skyport kind of lets you down onto the street level, and you can tell that the entrance is around on the south side of this building. As you walk around this building, you see that it has this kind of light gray brickwork that the building is made up of. The roof is red. It is this kind of rectangular building, longer north to south than it is east to west. And you can see that there are these windows all along the sides of this building. It appears to only be a single story, but the roof is very, very high. As you get around to the front entrance of the Temple of Lord Laramie, you can see double doors. I imagine that you step into the temple. As you push the doors open, you are immediately in this kind of this nave, this long central walkway. It's fairly wide. It's about 30 feet wide. There are carpets that run down the center. And then down the nave, there is also on either side, there are these colonnades. You can see that there are these archways that open up into these sections of the building on the east and on the west side. And as you look through them, you can see that there are these fenced off areas that have different color tile for the floor, but in the center of the tile, there is piled up sand. You would know, anybody who knows anything about Lord Laramie, these are actually like fighting pits where people come and they test their skill with a blade. I got ahead of myself. Running along the side of the nave, you see these separate little tables, and on each of these tables are different swords. Some of them are broken, some of them are old, some of them are in mint condition. A couple of these tables have helmets on them or some like shield or something, and you would imagine these are some kind of swords or weapons of heroes of some kind who their blades have been brought here to this temple as a sacrament, as an offering to Lord Laramie. As you enter the chapel or the temple, you can hear the sounds of swordplay kind of off to the west. You hear some laughing and some grunting. Down the center aisle, you see a couple of people are kind of milling about, looking at some of these swords. You see that everyone in here has a sword at their waist. As you get to the kind of the end of the nave, this central hallway, you can see there is this pedestal and there is this statue of this beautiful and thin, kind of wiry, lean figure standing in front of an altar. And on the altar, you can see that there are a couple of swords at rest there. You imagine this statue is supposed to represent Lord Laramie.
But it's not even close.
His nose is so much bigger in real life.
Wasn't he covered with like a helmet? Like, dude, we didn't see his face. Oh, you were making it.
Don't be difficult there, Pine. You could see his nose.
Oh gosh. Well, here in this temple of Lord Laramie, you can see there are different people milling about. You can see as you kind of move into the temple and glance left and right, you can see that over on the west side of the building, you can see a man and a woman in one of these fighting pits are squaring off. The woman is using like a long sword, and the man looks like he's using a great sword, and they are sparring back and forth, quote unquote, trading blows. They're not actually striking each other, but they are trying to touch each other with the blade. You see there is a man dressed very finely in like a gray suit with red trim and like a cravat. Think of like Austin Powers, his like a lacy cravat sticking out of the top, is kind of watching them and shouting out little pointers and things. He's got tan skin. The guy who's pointing out is like shouting out pointers. He's got tan skin, black hair, got like white wings of hair at the temples. You can see that he is also like the statue in the center of the temple. He is lean and sinewy, and he has kind of that body of a fencer, somebody who would be more likely to use like a light blade,
like Pine in his prime.
Yeah, like Pine in his prime. And at his waist, he does have a rapier at his waist. And then straight ahead of you, in front of that statue, there are two other figures that kind of stand out. There is kind of this thin, young, probably, 21, 22, kind of reedy, kind of hunched over guy he's like talking to this other man who is sitting down on the stairs right in front of the statue, wearing he's got like tights on, and he's got like pantaloons, like puffy pants over that. But he doesn't have a shirt on. He's quite large, like muscular. And he is kind of wiping his face with a cloth, and he has a big grin on his face. And sitting next to him is this large Zweihander, this big, like two-handed, massive greatsword. And he appears to be listening to what the reedy thin man is saying, and he is enjoying what he is hearing. But you guys are too far away to hear. As you enter into the temple, you can hear that fight that's going on over on the west side of the building. You can hear a clang, clang, and then a voice, "Up! She got you! The match is over!" And then you can see that the man and the woman who are fighting over there, the man sets his sword down, and then he bows to the woman he was fighting. And then they both go and start to kind of clean up, wipe off and everything. And then this finely dressed man steps over into the nave and sees that you have entered. He approaches you, steps down towards the four of you, and he says, "Good morning and welcome to the temple of Lord Laramie, the Lord of Swords. I am Saman, the master of this temple."
Well, good morning. I've never been to a temple of the Lord of Swords before.
He looks at the sword at your waist and he says, "But I imagine you've said a prayer to him or two." He has a kind of a smile on his face. He seems good-natured.
Yes, we've spoken before.
It does seem like your devotees know how to fight.
Oh, of course. That's all we do here. We train in the art of the blade, the dance, the show of swordplay. It is life. It is life.
Nari is going to try to hide it, but like slightly offended that they're so into swords.
Where's the axes? Come on, guys.
I mean, well, are other bladed weapons permitted in here for part of your worship? Or is it just all swords, just the shorter handle, longer blade?
No creativity.
Well, I mean, just variety, even.
Lord Laramie is the Lord of Swords, of swords. If you are thinking smaller and like daggers, go, Lady Nesseri. She's the sneaky one. She likes daggers and thin blades that are easily concealed. No, Lord Laramie is all about show.
Have you seen that axe on her back? That is all about show.
My companions here, I'm sure we didn't just show up in their temple just to start trash talking swords, did we?
No, you're right.
No, I love swords. I love swords.
I mean, they're fine.
It is quite an impressive display of power you have going on here.
I can appreciate, having fought men and women with axes and spears, the power that they wield as well. But Lord Laramie is the Lord of Swords, and I have dedicated my life to serving him. I hope that you are not offended that I'm not super interested in your axe.
You can be interested in whatever you like. There is no judgment.
I'm a little bit perplexed that we showed up and just started like immediately trash talking. So swords, that's like your only thing then, huh? It's kind of lame if I'm honest.
He's literally the Lord of Swords.
I didn't start by, I wasn't supposed to be trash talking. I was just like, so tell, hey, do you do other edged weapons here too?
It's like walking into like a Christian church and being like, so what about like, are there other gods at all that you guys like, I mean, Ganesh is pretty cool, right? Like,
you can tell that he's taken this all in stride, right? He seems to have a good nature about him. And he says, have you come to test your might and your skill here at the Temple of Lord Laramie?
Well, that does sound entertaining. I'm stricken with a curse that only worship at Lord Laramie's temple can remove from me.
He rolled an insight check.
it's herpes.
He doesn't seem to understand. He says, if you are cursed with a lack of skill, then surely there's no better place to train than here.
Damn.
It is nothing of that sort. I can't profess to be as good as any of these acolytes that I've witnessed fighting here, but I am familiar with the blade.
Do you wish to speak in private, young man?
Yes, if you have a moment.
Of course I do. Please, come with me.
As Rousse leaves with him, Pine will say, remember, Rousse, the difference between honesty and candor. Don't go crushing this man's worldview.
Yes, honesty and candor. I will try my hardest to remember what those words mean.
So
Try not to be too honest and show that axes are better than swords, though.
little peek behind the scenes right now. I just went and watched the live NADPOD show last night in Portland. I feel a little bit like Caldwell must have felt up there on stage right now.
Yeah, we're razzing you. Sorry.
No, it's all good. It's all good. As you, Rousse, as you step and follow Master Saman, you go past the this statue dedicated a depiction of Lord Laramie, which you know is not accurate. And as you do, you pass by this large man without his shirt on, who's kind of wiping the sweat off of his face, and you see this thinner man who's saying, "Oh, Tristan, you got him so good. You're bound to do it. You're bound to take it." And Tristan just kind of like waves him off and says, "Yes, I know, Harveed. I just wish there was a challenge here in this city for me." And then Saman will take you down past there to the north edge of the temple, where there is a spiral staircase heading down. And we are now going to be splitting the party.
Wait, does anyone want to go with him specifically? Can we go with him?
Nobody has attempted to follow.
When they said private, I figured Pine would stay behind.
Yeah, I think Ebby would honor that and not go as well.
Rousse, there's a spiral staircase heading down. As you go down this spiral staircase, it leads out into this large, very elegantly decorated, like 25 feet by 25 feet room with paintings on the walls. Straight ahead on the south wall, as you come down these spiral staircases, you can see there is a painting, very, very well done, of a thin man with a sword in each hand, and looks like he's vanquishing some kind of unseen, black, misty, kind of smoky creatures that are off on the periphery. But the painting is definitely depicting this being here in the center. And as you look at it, you imagine this must be a depiction of Lord Laramie. As you look to the eastern wall and the western wall, each wall has two doors on it. There are two like wooden doors, and then there are two steel like almost like cell doors, slatted like bar prison doors almost, like you'll sometimes see in old churches. And through those bars, you can see that there is a small hallway on either side of the room, and it looks like it might branch or it might go out a little ways and then head south. But Master Saman brings you down here in front of this picture, and he says, "Son, what troubles you so? What is this curse you speak of?" And Rousse, why don't you make an insight check?
Insight. Rousse got a 24 on his insight.
You can see, as you're talking with Master Saman, he is presenting himself as the kind of the fatherly, kind, I'm going to help you out figure. You can see a little, almost like a little twitch, tremor in his fingertips. And you sense that he is, nervous is the wrong word, but you sense there is some fear in him. There's just a little tick that you are detecting.
I have come across a relic that belongs to Lord Laramie. And in my carrying it and acquiring it, I have been cursed so that I cannot rid myself of this. Part of the process of freeing myself from these swords, and Rousse will pull out the lead-lined box, say, I need to get rid of them here in the temple to Lord Laramie.
You see his demeanor change from the confident look that he had before to one of concern and worry. And then he says, "So you know the truth."
I was beginning to wonder if you knew anything about it as well.
He looks around, and he kind of looks like a back up the stairs, kind of make sure that nobody's coming down. And he says, "In this temple, I am the only one who knows the truth, and it will always be that way. Let me show you something." And then he takes you to these kind of cell doors are exactly opposite of each other, and he takes you to the one on the eastern wall, and then he pulls out a large key, an old key, and he opens it, and he takes you through. And you can see that as you go into this hallway, the tiling in this hallway is the same as it is out in the kind of the main area down here in the basement. But as you round the corner and head south, you can see that the actual tile changes once it's out of sight. And it is now a deep, dark red, almost a blood red. And he leads you back around. Basically, you take a right and then another right, and then you're in this large room. And you can see on the opposite edge of this room, it looks like the hallway on the opposite side must lead around here to the same area, right? So there's like basically two doors that lead here to the same room. This room is about the same size as the entryway was, or as the first room you were in down here in the basement, about 25 feet by 25 feet. However, at the south edge of this room, there is a plinth, an altar, and on the altar there is a black statue carved of onyx or some kind of just black stone, very dark, and it is unmistakably some kind of demon. There are horns, there are wings, there are claws. You can see that around this altar are 5 swords, and then this demon is actually holding in each of its hands a sword. You notice that the one in the left hand is actually just a broken hilt, but it's holding swords. This looks like an ancient, very old monument to the reality of Lord Laramie.
This looks much more like I recall.
Master Saman nods. He says, "I can help you. I need to know the nature of these blades. Are they his?"
So leading up to this, I was playing in my mind how I was going to convince you what Laramie really was. It's so much easier than I expected. Yes, these 2 blades belonged to him.
He puts his hand on your shoulder and he draws you in closer to the shrine, and he says, and he's kind of explaining a little bit to you. He says, I did not set out to worship, and he motions to the statue, a demon, a devil, a foul being from hell or wherever he comes from. I did not set out to do that, but when I eventually reached the rank of master, I realized that the worship of Laramie is more important than who Laramie is. What he represents to people is more important. And now, as the master of this shrine, it is my responsibility to appease Laramie. Not because I necessarily approve of who he is and of the things that he must have done, but to keep his wrath at bay. Does that make sense?
It does.
If I can keep him content, then we'll all be better off for it. And that is why I continue to worship him, even after finding out who he is.
Well, I mean, I don't want to disrupt whatever worship relationship you have, but I watched him die.
You see a very slight nod, and he says, I assumed as much when certain gifts stopped flowing to me.
I just want to make sure I'm understanding you. You previously were bestowed some sort of benefits or abilities by Laramie that you no longer have.
I was able to call upon him for power. Not a lot. Not like some of these other acolytes to the other lords and ladies. I wasn't raining down lightning or healing diseases. No, but there were certain gifts that I was granted. Extra speed, or occasionally my sword seemed to leap of its own accord and protect me from a blow that would have felled me for sure. But that all stopped with the shattering of Pavantis. But you have his swords?
He held off the shattering. For better or worse, whatever he was, part of the reason the shattering didn't happen, who knows how many thousands of years ago, was because of him. And when he passed, I took his swords to try and further that goal of preventing this inevitability that he was fighting against. They're too strong for me. I can't handle myself. I can't control myself when I have them.
He puts his hand on your shoulder and he says, they were never meant for mortals. Now, how many do you have?
I have 2 of them, and they're in this case.
Bring it with you up here to the altar. And he steps up to the altar and he motions for you to place it in front of him.
Rousse will kneel down and place it in front of him on the altar.
You can see him take a deep breath. And he turns to you, Rousse, and he says, this will take some time. Not because, well, because I don't want the same fate to befall me that has befallen you. And he kneels down in front of the box and puts his hands on the box and begins to breathe and meditate and collect himself. And Rousse, you sit there watching as we jump back upstairs to the first floor of the temple. What's everybody doing? Are you guys going to hang out here and wait for Rousse? Are you guys going to talk with some of these people? What are you guys going to do? Looking at the swords on display?
Pine will actually go up and he will, if has started just having a small conversation, as old men sometimes do with random strangers. The reedy man and the big guy with his Y-hander up by the altar and be like, "Oh man, in my younger days, I would have been here every day. This place is amazing. You just fight all the time."
Well, the strong man, the guy who was named Tristan, he kind of laughs and he says, well, we don't fight all day, of course. Pardon. And then he says, are you from Menarest? But he says it in Menarese.
Shoot. And I will say, oui.
Si habla.
And then he switches to Menarese and he says, here in Dathan, I can't find a worthy opponent. It seems like everyone who comes to face me is they're not good enough. I need a challenge. And I mean, we all know that the best swordsmen come from Menarest.
That is of a truth. The
Flattering.
Yes, they had that. What were they called? The sword, the heaven swords, or something.
Oh, yes, the four swords of the heavens. He says, of course we have the four swords of the heavens. And then Harvid, the skinny guy, goes, yeah, Tristan here. Tristan, he was trained by the blossoming storm of the western sky himself.
Shoot.
And Tristan says, now, Harvid.
I've heard that guy's pretty cool.
Oh, you were trained by the blossoming storm.
Yes, I was.
He trained you with that huge thing.
He trained me in swordplay, yes. Do you still wield a blade, old man? He says old man in a
respectful way.
Yeah, kind of he's kind of ribbing you a little bit, but not in a mean way.
Okay.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He's kind of just he's being playful.
Well, I still wear it, and I'm sure I can still draw blood with it. Tell me, this blossoming storm of the western sky, you trained with him? How long ago?
Oh, I just finished my training with him about 6 months ago, actually. And I'm here looking for worthy opponents because I've learned all I can from him. I'm hoping within the year to go back and challenge him for his place. Is anybody else around hearing this conversation?
Well, it's in Menarese, so they'd have to know Menarese.
Oh, that's true. This is in Menarese.
Ebby is near. Obviously, he's not paying much attention and couldn't understand the conversation anyway. He's focused on where he saw Rousse disappear to. So he's kind of like, where is he? Hopefully he's okay. But he's standing by Pine.
And where is Nari?
Honestly, Nari is trying to, but like she is trying to be as out of sight as possible while like casually looking at one of these swords that are decorating the hallway and trying to figure out what their significance is.
You can see that as you're looking at these different swords, there are little plaques and they have like the name of the bearer of that sword. And then it has a little description, very short, just of what this person did that was so significant with this specific blade. Like one says like held off 7 attackers at the Battle of the Fords. And one says, fought a hippogriff. I don't know, something else. But
So it's not the blades themselves that are significant. It's more just like the acts done with them.
Exactly. The swords themselves are not necessarily magical. In fact, as you're looking at them, a lot of them just look mundane. And it's more the acts and the acts of bravery and of chivalry and of swordplay that were done that have earned these blades the respect.
Not the acts of bravery, though.
That's your acts.
Cool. No, honestly, I think Nari will kind of be actually honestly checking those out and like reading those plaques and enjoying the museum that is to bravery.
All right. So back to Pine and Tristan.
Well, Pine will say to Tristan, again, kind of returning the ribbing, and say, well, pup, if you have the time, I wouldn't mind swinging this sword again to see what the new blossoming storm of the western sky is teaching his pupils.
He takes the rag that he's been wiping his face with and he kind of tosses it over to the skinny guy, Harvid, and he's like, ha, finally, maybe you'll be a challenge for me. And then he stands up and grabs his sword and he says, come. And he walks over to the east side of the room, heading over to one of these fighting pits. And he goes and stands in the sand. He kind of starts to stretch a little bit, swings the sword around a little bit over his head. Nobody else really understood that conversation, but you see this guy finish his conversation with Pine and instantly go into one of these fighting pits. And I imagine Pine is following.
Oh, yeah. Pine is totally following. And as he goes, he doesn't take off his jacket or anything. He's just kind of going with his cane and his sword. So it's on his waist, and he'll walk into the fighting pit as well.
Oh, heck.
Abby's like, Pine, where are you going? Pine?
Don't worry. It's friendly. And then I'll turn back into Mannerese and I'll say, what are the rules of this fight? And Paul, that's also for you mechanically. Like, how are we fighting this?
So what Tristan says is, he says, first to draw blood. The way that we're going to run this mechanically is you are going to be using whatever skills you want to use. You don't have to declare it as being non-lethal. It will be non-lethal, at least, that's the intention, is it will be non-lethal.
Unless I say I really want to kill this dude.
Correct. But the way it's going to work is that basically as your hit points deplete, don't think of it as actually taking damage. Think of it as your guard and you become more fatigued. And then when you hit 0 hit points, whoever hits 0 hit points first, they are the ones who will then get the nick that draws blood, and they will be the loser, if that makes sense. So you are playing to death, but think of this more like a short rest and you're back to normal. So even any spells or anything that you want to use, like smites and stuff like that, those will all come back after a short rest, even though normally they don't, because this is all just sparring.
Exhibition. It's just exhibition. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So as you guys are standing in this pit, the tile around it is red. You can see Harveed, the skinny guy, is like, he's all excited, like, "You gonna get him, Tristan? Yeah, you're totally gonna get him." This guy is just kind of like super weenie. Like, I don't know if anybody else is getting.
He's that kid in high school who was like, "Oh, you bumped into somebody." He's like, "Oh, there's gonna be a fight," and tries to get a fight going all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, there's a fight, guys.
He's
fight.
your groupie.
He totally is. He's just hanging on to his tails.
Hype man. You got to have a hype man.
Exactly. So people start to gather around this fighting pit. It seems obvious that this guy Tristan has been the talk of the temple for a couple of days now, since he's been into town, and nobody has managed to beat him. And now you have this 76-year-old facing off against this much younger, probably maybe 29 or 30, in peak physical shape.
This reminds me of Matt when he fought the 2 warders and just kicked the crap out of them.
Oh, yes.
Oh, I'm like, me? I've never been in a fight in my life.
In Wheeler time, sorry.
I was also curious about how being 29 is the best shape of my life, looking at myself, but whatever you want to say.
Well, I'm 41 tomorrow. And I'm in the best shape of my life. So hopefully it just keeps getting better. Fingers crossed.
Oh yeah. By the way, Paul, it's 12 minutes. 12 minutes from now here. So
wow.
Oh my God, twinsies, you guys.
Wait, so we have to say happy birthday to Matt first and then Paul later.
Yeah, literally an hour later.
And the way it'll work is that Matt's birthday will be during this episode and mine will be a week later. People start to gather around and they are starting to watch this fight. So what we are going to do is we are going to roll initiative.
You got this!
Pine, what'd you get for initiative?
Pine rolled a 19.
Pine, you get to go first. As you square off and you're facing each other, Harveed's like, "Yeah, you're gonna get him. You're gonna get him, Tristan. Oh, that's right. Ready and fight."
Okay, so if I'm going to go first, I want to do something to try to throw him off, okay? So as I draw the Tabry Ambassador's Blade level 3, I say, "Frigid Aggression Stance." And one thing that I can do is I can actually blow out any uncovered flame within 30 feet of me. So I want to put out all of the lights right around me to throw him off. And then I'm just going to come right in with my first 2 attacks.
Oh my goodness.
So I'm hoping, I don't know if that's going to give me advantage or whatever, but the idea is just throw them off.
As you draw your sword, these torches that are on the wall, they're lanterns, the light in them goes poof and goes out. And suddenly Tristan is standing in darkness. You can see that there's now shadow all over the center of this fighting pit. Okay, what's the next thing you're going to do, Pine?
I'm going to go ahead and come up and do a couple attacks.
All right.
The first one is a 16 to hit.
16 will barely hit.
So that, oh, geez. So that is my first. So the way it works out is because I'm rolling 2 dice, basically that's just 2, quick slashes with my very quick weapon. So I rolled only 8 piercing for the piercing and 1 cold. So basically I rolled a 2 and a 1 for my damage on this one. But I will say, unleash with precision, Swordmaster's Fury. And I shall do a level 2 smite.
Okay.
So that will be an extra 3d8, right?
A level 2 smite will be 3d8, yes.
So that's 12 extra damage. So that's really not that great, but yeah. So that's my first attack.
Okay.
And then my second attack shall be a 17 to hit.
Another hit.
Okay, this is much better. So 14 piercing, and then 3 cold. And then I will say one more time, unleash with precision, Swordmaster's Fury, and do a level 2 smite again. So that's an extra 3d8. I'm trying to make this go really fast. That's only 11 damage this time. So altogether, that's a lot.
49 damage in 1 round. This guy, it's his turn now. He cannot see you, but he is going to skirt around you to get back out into some of the light so he can get a better view of you because he's standing in the shadows. So he doesn't leave your threat range, but he does move around you. He is going to, for his first action, his first attack, he's going to fight dirty. And he is going to, with his boot, kick sand up into your face. I need a Constitution save, difficulty 13.
I rolled exactly a 13.
Oh, gosh.
Yes.
So, you've fought duels before, and you have fought in war before. And this is the kind of move somebody would do in a war. This is like survival stuff. And so as soon as he goes to kick the sand in your face, instantly you grab the edge of your cloak or of your coat and just whip it up in front of your eyes, just wave it away, and the sand, it doesn't get in your eyes. You are not blinded for this round. That was his first. So now with his other 2 attacks, he is going to attack you twice. And that is going to be, looks like a 13 for the first one and then a 21 for the second one.
The 21 will hit.
And that is going to be only 12 damage. So he dealt 12 damage to you, and it is now Pine. It is your turn.
Okay, so Pine is going to... He's going to say, the brilliant blade reveals your weakness, angered heavens. And I'm going to do, I don't think I've ever done this attack before, but it's the angered heavens technique. It does an additional radiant damage, and I'm just doing it because it's cool and I haven't done it before. Basically, if he was invisible, he'd be visible now.
Oh, gotcha.
And he'll glow if I hit with my next attack, or with the next time I hit with attack. So my first attack will be crit.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Mess him up, Pine.
You wanted to make this quit?
All right, so basically the initial attack is just 4 quick strikes. 11 plus 8 plus 4 plus 6 that's 19 plus 10, so that's 29 damage before I throw on the Swordmaster's Fury, which I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it at level 3, of course.
Oh my gosh.
So that will be 8d8.
Get
Oh my
wrecked,
gosh.
though.
Oh, yes.
That's an additional 41 damage.
Oh, dude, that's
No
a
one
great
challenges
number,
my
too.
old man to a fight.
Holy cow. Tell me what happens. This guy who has 112 hit points, what do you do to subdue him and get that little slice of blood on him?
Again, playing it that every individual die is a strike with my blade, and because in this specific round I got to roll 12 dice on one attack, that's 12 attacks in 3 seconds. So I just completely overwhelm him with a blade that is completely invisible. It's going so fast, like in an anime, and his Whitehander goes flying out of his hand, and the blood that I draw is actually a nick on his thumb on his right hand where he was holding his Whitehander, and that's it. Like he doesn't fall down. It's just completely overwhelmed. Sword is out of his hand, and he can see the blood on his hand.
Woo!
Cue victory music.
Now, if you could only roll like that in our actual fights. Bada bing.
Oh, this guy Tristan, who he has seemed you're fairly good natured. He drops the sword and he puts his thumb in his mouth real quick, tries to suck on the blood off, and then he kind of looks at it, and he looks at you, and for a split second you see this intense rage in his eyes, and then he takes a breath and he steps forward and he holds out his right hand and he says, "Well met."
And I will grasp it, grabbing the wrists like they do in fantasy movies.
And Predator.
Yes, yes, and Predator.
And I will say, Tristan, your skill was great. And I think you're right. You are better than your teacher. He earned the title, the Blossoming Storm of the Western Sky, without ever besting he who previously held that title. And I'll give him a wink.
He will let go of your hand, and then he'll kind of look at you and he'll say, "Temrid Pine? Temrid Pine.
At your service."
Okay. We are going to stop there and head back down to the basement. Rousse, you are standing there watching Seaman standing in front of, or kneeling in front of this box. His hands are on the box, and he kind of, how when you're getting ready to dive underwater, how it's better to go than just take one big breath, like you get your lungs ready to ready to hold that oxygen. He starts doing that. He starts breathing really rapidly, and then you can sense him just tense as he takes the box, unlatches it, opens it up, reaches in, pulls out one of the swords, slams the lid shut again, and quickly stands up and goes to the statue. I'm going to make a roll here real quick. Rousse, he reaches up, grabs one of the swords that is in the hand of this statue. He grabs the one that has the broken blade. It's just a handle. And he pulls it up and he goes to put the sword in the hands of the statue. And he stops. Rousse, what do you do? He rolled a natural 4 on his wisdom save. What do you do, Rousse?
I'm going to grab his wrist and push his arm the rest of the way to stick the sword into the statue.
I'm going to need you to make a wisdom save. You gave him advantage on that save and he rolled a natural 5. Make a wisdom save.
Rousse got a 21 for his wisdom save.
As you go to assist him and put it in, you see his knuckles tighten on the sword, and you, having dealt with this already with your 21 wisdom save, you quickly kind of elbow him in the side of the head to throw him off just a little bit as you grab that sword, knowing that now you are connected to it again, but with your 21 wisdom save, you slam it down into the hand that is now open, that has been relieved of that sword handle. And when you let go, you feel instantly the pull of that sword is gone. Master Seaman has fallen backwards and he's laying on his back and he is breathing heavily. He kind of tripped backwards over that lead-lined box. Rousse, as you stand in front of this statue of Lord Laramie, make a perception check.
Oh, man. Ooh, I rolled really well. 30 perception.
A 30 perception. The first thing that you realize after placing this sword in the statue, that sword is no longer bound to you. With your 30 perception, you recognize also that sword is not bound to Master Seaman, which was a very real possibility. With your 30 perception, you see that statue that is black, like black marble or onyx, something so dark. You see in the lights of these candles down here, the slightest tint just on the edges of your vision around the statue where the lines are cut, the tiniest glint of red. And that is where we're going to stop for tonight.
One down, one to go.
All right.
Also, Paul, I did the math wrong because I forgot I had just done Angered Heavens. There should have been 18 more damage on that, which would equate to 4 more strikes. That would have been 16 strikes in 3 seconds.
Man. Wow.
You were so fast. Oh, gosh. Hey, what a great episode. You guys are now in the city of Marlek, which is a resort town, and you guys have not done a beach trip yet, but Rousse is now free of one of these cursed blades. Something crazy is happening. And Pine got to interact with somebody from Menarest and learn or teach a little bit about the art of swordwork, as well as what it means to be the blossoming storm of the western sky. Anyway, if you like what we're doing, go check out our Patreon. There's lots of great stuff on there. Don't forget, we're doing a Q&A coming up here very soon. So get your questions into us through the Discord. You can actually send them direct message to me, Paul, on the Discord. And then our patrons will get to hear that episode of us answering your questions in the very near future.
DM the DM.
DM the DM.
Oh, and by the way, I figured out my tattoo.
Anyway, until we get together next time, we hope you have a great time.